Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest, Toi Sweeney, and she's here today to share with us her book, Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand, The Art of Increasing Your Perceived Value. So the Well-Dressed Brand is the brainchild of founder and chief style officer Toi Sweeney, who's an award-winning fashion stylist, brand image expert, speaker, entrepreneur, certified coach, and the author of Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. From founding her own design firm, Her Majesty the Queen, to managing almost 30 TV personalities at the leading home shopping network, she used her background to tell original stories through fashion. So let's welcome to the show, Toi Sweeney.
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be fun.
It is. My goodness, I could not wait to have this time with you. I mean, we've had so much fun together chatting. And your book, my goodness, this puts it over the top.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That's awesome.
Well, so why don't you share with us your journey? When did you become interested in style, especially style as a brand?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've always been interested in fashion. I haven't really done anything else. I started my career in retail, working for great brands like Ralph Lauren. I did the executive training program at Bloomingdale's in New York, and just kind of was in different leadership roles throughout my career. And then I landed at the world's #1 home shopping network at QVC for 16 years. And through that opportunity, I started in the buying office and then kind of moved into the image department when I went back to school for fashion design. And so during that process, I had an opportunity to dress and support all 30 program hosts. And it was such an exceptional experience to just really live with, in a way, these type A personalities who are at the top of their game and are at the top of their game in their careers. And they're all so different. And so I had an opportunity to get them dressed every day. And I just started to play around with this idea of, what if we use color and silhouettes and we just told a story, an individual story verbally, right? Because obviously they're speaking, but with 65% of our population being visual learners, how can we move the needle and have it affect the bottom line in addition to what they're saying? So I started testing it out to see if it would work. And, no one knew I was doing this. It was just kind of like, when you read the customer comments, it would say things like, oh, they all look so different and they look so good. And you can really see their personality. And I was like, oh my goodness, I might be onto something.
Well, and it does make a big difference, because when you meet somebody, their dress and their attire says a lot, and especially in the world that you're working in, where people are so under the microscope. I mean, every little bit counts,
It does. And I think that today, because we are moving towards such a casual society, the question becomes, right, why? Mm-hmm. Why do I need to do that? I should just be me. And we kind of push out this information about being so authentic, and we're pushing the message of be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. And and all of that is true. And so, but it doesn't mean that you go out into the world not put together. It doesn't mean that you need to roll up in as if you're stepping out into the Oscars every day either. But it really is exactly that, is finding out what, is really going to work for you. And it really comes down to who you want to be. What do you want to say? And dressing in a way that you want to be addressed, I think that is probably, that's it. That's really the thing. Because when you look at people like Gary Vaynerchuk, and you look at, oh my gosh, his name's escaping me, the founder of Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes. when you look at guys like that and, they're in jeans and t-shirts every day, it's easy to say, well, they're not doing this and they're just fine. And so what studies are showing is that when you are dressed a little bit more casual, it affects your short-term thinking. So it affects you in a way where you have more of a to-do list, let's get it done now mentality, as opposed to dressing up. And that's going to affect your long-term thinking. So all of this has just been so fascinating to me, mixing it in with color and just really kind of helping us all to curate the life and tell the story that we want to be told. And I just think it's so cool. It's so cool.
Well, and so how does dressing become, what we wear become part of our personal brand?
Well, I think that it goes back to, you really have to figure out, what you want to say. You need to be really clear on who you are, what you want to say. And then you also have to and where you're going. I think that's the part that most people really forget about. I'm very clear on who I am. And okay, so where do you want to be in the next few years? Where are you trying to get to? And so I look at where my clients are now, but I really measure everything against where they're going, because it's really not about the trends. It's about being relevant. And I believe in every aspect of your life and really moving forward. And so you want to have a forward thinking mentality in every aspect of your life. So I look at, where are we going, and so then we dress accordingly. And so we look at, and the first thing I ask my clients is, what do you want to say? What do you want to say? How do you want to be perceived when you walk into a room? What do you want people to think? More importantly, what do you want them to feel? What is that? And so sometimes it's, I want to be approachable. I want to be powerful. I want them to think that I'm an expert. I want my value to be highly perceived and things like that. So I take that information. So the first step is that I give them a style test. And the style test that I created really spits out what your style recipe is. So it's going to talk to if you are creative, if you prefer, a dress over jeans, if you like color, if you don't like color, if you like flowers, if you like ruffles, if you like clean lines, all of that stuff. And that helps, that'll help you to figure out why you're buying things as well that you're not wearing. Because right? We've all been there. You're like, oh, I had a client recently send me a picture of a celebrity. And she was like, can you find these boots for me? And so I said, sure. And, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to. But okay, 10 minutes later, I sent her the link. It didn't take me long. I sent her the link to the boots. And then she's like, okay. And so the next question was, well, do you think that they would work on me? And I said, well, yes, but you need to be really mindful, because one side was black and one side was white. And it's a very trendy item for right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that she is, she runs a huge company, and she's the founder and CEO of this company. And I just know that next season, she's no longer going to want these boots. And so it wasn't really worth the $1,500 investment or whatever they were. Because I know she wasn't going to want them in a couple of months. And so I was honest, and I was like, well, considering the rooms that you sit in, if we really don't style this right, you're going to look like a court jester. Is that what you want? And she's like, no. But thank you for your honesty.
I'm sure she appreciated that, because how many people would say, that's not, it's not giving you the impression you want.
I mean, I know. I think that she would like them for a day, but for the amount that they were, I would prefer you find the $50 version and you can wear them out and, to lunch with the girls and have a kicking good time. But it just wasn't, no. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of, so it's all of that. And a lot of times, especially as women, because we have so many choices, we get caught up into the trends. It's so easy to do because there's so many things for us to choose from. But if you really kind of work out your personal brand, right? So if you're looking at your personality, your core values, what's your mission? What's your vision? And what should that look like? If you measure everything against those things, that's going to help you make sure that you're picking the right items for your closet and the right colors. And then you can minimize it to the point where that's all you really have in your closet. You have a small section of, things to paint a room in, things to move furniture, and, your comfy sweats with the holes in them, your boxers from college, whatever it is that kind of give you that ultra comfort. Of course, but it really is a branded closet so that everything in there will speak to your personality, your core values, your mission, your vision, and your image.
So have you ever come across somebody who their closet is just like a mixed up buffet as opposed to something that, people would really want to see?
It's been a while. So I'm in a position where I don't do closets per se anymore. I kind of give you the tools. And people clean out their own closets. I don't do that. Because I really want you're curating the story of your life. And so, I'm not going to pick up, something that you have to decide if it brings you joy. Only you can do that. Mm-hmm. What I can do is tell you what should be in there, and then you go accordingly. So not really, because that part is not up to me. I think that, people kind of, they don't value what they don't invest in. So if you paid someone or you spend time really digging in that closet,
yeah,
switching over all the hangers, and you're organizing everything, that you're going to tend to respect it a little bit more. And I really try to encourage people to, as I'm working on my new book, which is like a deeper dive from Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. The newer one is really going to speak to, telling the story of think of the apparel in your closet as your team, right? The same way that you invest in your team, and there's, people who there's all levels of pay grades, right on a team. Everybody's at a different pay scale, rather. And your closet's going to be the same way. But here are the people, right? You can't do it without your team. So they're building the brand of your company, and your apparel is building your personal brand. And so here are all your little cheerleaders every day. When you open the closet, you want to have that top performer jacket, that blazer, or whatever it is for you. Sometimes it's a pair of sneakers or a pair of, designer pumps, whatever it is for you, that when you look at that, it signifies the thing that you want to say, right? So you want to have that. You want to have, your layering pieces, that thing that's going to make you feel comfortable, that you don't feel like something's digging into you, proper undergarments, like the whole thing. But if you really just start to reframe your thinking and think about the fact that this is really your team, and you're only as good as the weakest link on your team, right? So I tell a story in my book there's two stories that I tell in the book. One is about, I'm really like one of those people who I like to be early. I'm annoyingly early, like really early for everything, in most cases. And so, but whatever reason, I woke up really late for work this day, and I lived about an hour outside of the QVC studios. And so I woke up and I had to be out of the house. I was already late, so I probably had about 30 minutes instead of the full hour to get to work, and I still needed to get dressed. So I was able to get dressed in 15 minutes and get out the door and head to work.
Oh wow! That's like a land speed record right there.
Right? That's like what? And so like I throw my shoes in my bag, and I just, thank God it was summer, and I just threw on like flip flops just to get out the door. And so I now I am lucky enough that I don't have hair, so that that saves me at least 45 minutes, like not having to blow dry my hair in the morning. So that cuts down a lot. I can get dressed in 15 minutes, shower included, like it's in and out, and I'm out the door. But when I get to work, I set my bag down, I changed my shoes, I threw on a scarf, threw a denim jacket on, and I started heading down the hallway to the meeting. And I could not believe the amount of compliments that I was getting. Now, and I'm like, well, so I'm leaving the meeting, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I getting so many compliments? And how was I honestly able to get dressed this fast? Because in complete transparency, I literally picked up stuff that was on my closet floor. And that's the truth. That is, I'm just being honest. That was what I did. I was like, oh my gosh, like I hadn't planned out, my outfits for the week. Like I hadn't done any of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really didn't have time to think about it. I just remembered that I had a meeting that morning. And so it wasn't Friday, so I couldn't wear jeans. So I picked up a black pencil skirt that was on my floor. I picked up a black t-shirt that was made out of the same fabric as my pencil skirt. And I grabbed a leopard print scarf, and I grabbed a pair of leopard wedges, and I just grabbed the denim jacket. And that was it. I just shoved it in my bag. So I had on t-shirts, a pencil skirt, and flip-flops running into the building. And, I had like the base on, the stuff you can do in the car. And I got there and put, lips on. But that was really it. And I was like, how did I do that? And I was like, oh, because of the way that I shop, when I really thought about it. And as I said to someone, the last person that commented, what is it about this outfit that she's like, it just looks so pulled together? And I'm like, well, and I started to dissect it. I'm like, okay, so the way that I shop is that if I buy a pair of shoes, for example, then I buy, a scarf or a handbag or something to match, right? So I make sure that my accessories usually match. I'm not a necklace. Like I don't really wear a ton of like jewelry. I don't wear big earrings or things like that. I'm pretty much a minimalist, but if I buy a navy pair of pumps, I'll get navy sandals and a navy handbag and a navy scarf, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like, but because I do that and I only wear colors that are within my palette of elegant and powerful and stylish, right? Then everything works together. Like I have the same pretty much 6 or 7 colors in my closet, and that's all I wear, so that when I'm getting dressed, because it's so branded, that rather if I have 5 minutes or 2 hours, it always makes sense.
Yeah, you can put that all together, even if you're grabbing it off the
closet
floor of your closet.
What I did.
But true. How impressive is that? Because no matter what you're doing, you can always be put together. And, a lot of times I think if you had to ask like a majority of people to get ready in 5 minutes and head out for work, I mean, they would be in a deep panic.
Yeah, and I think that, like I said, men have it so much easier because they can always throw on a suit. A suit is like the easiest thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then they don't vary far from the script, right? It's dark denim jeans and a blazer, or it's khakis and a shirt. It's mostly the women because we have so many choices, and our body types are so different. And some people don't wear skirts, some people don't like jeans. My biggest challenge, is just the one male client that I had that didn't wear jeans. I had never really, come across someone who didn't wear jeans. And
that would be a new one, right?
And he's going to be a celebrity because I think I mention him all the time. But I just think that it was such a conundrum to me. I'm like, how do you not? What do you wear when you're coaching? What do you wear when you're doing speaking engagements? And what do you wear when you're just hanging out with your family? And when you're doing your TV show, what do you wear? Khakis, 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 khakis. And so I was like,
sounds like a uniform,
Right. And I just remember thinking like, oh my word. I said, okay, I'm going to I think I need to call you back. I said, let me think, tell me more. So we started talking. I said, well, why? And he told me why. And we started going through everything. So I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I said, I want you to try not to wear the tan khakis, like burn them. Just don't wear them. I said, instead, replace them with navy, get olive green and black. And I'm pretty sure that 98% of the tops, the shirts that you have will work with that. And then from there, we're going to add these layering pieces. And then I sent him images, and I was like, so, I said, here's your brand. Like, here's what I want you to look like. Here's what it's called. And I gave it a name. It was like the Southern Gentleman, like a very modern version of what that looks like. And, this jacket and these hats and these shoes with this, and he was like, oh my goodness. Okay. So he tried it, and he called me, He's so awesome with his deep Tennessee accent. And he tells me the story about how his wife was like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "I'm going out." And she said, "You look really put together." And then he said, "Thank you." She said, "How did you know how to do that?" And he said,
he could get in trouble here, right?
And she said, "Yeah, right." And I'm sure her wheels are like, "Wait, what?" And so he said, "I had help." And he was not helping the situation. And she's like, "Help from whom?"
Oh, boy.
He tells her, "Well, I heard this girl on this podcast and I called her. We worked together over the phone and she told me what to buy. And I sent her some pictures and this is what I'm doing." And she loved it. And so he was really happy. And I love telling that story because that was the first time in a really long time that I had really been stumped. Like, no jeans, huh?
Well, and he lived to tell the story, and
Yes, exactly. She hasn't called me yet, so I guess it's okay.
Well, you might be on her list to use personally because I'm sure you get, once you have somebody, especially people that are a couple, someone that elevates their game. I'm sure you have the spouse going, "Well, wait a minute, I want to try that out."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. In fact, he called me recently and just said, "Can you come here and do like a lunch and learn?" For I have a bunch of leaders in my circle who would really be interested in working with you, but could you come and do like a seminar for us?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, "Okay." Sure.
Well, how awesome is that? And do you know, and I know in your book you talk about how our brand impacts others. I'd love for you to share. I mean, we're talking a little bit about that, but I'd love for you to share like other examples that does it.
Yeah, I think that what there's a couple things. So there's some articles that I came across when I was writing the book that talked about a judge in New Jersey which I can't believe that. Well, I can believe it kind of that we live in a world where, because I just didn't grow up this way, but I thought it was funny that she had to put a sign in her courtroom asking people to not wear pajamas.
Excuse me? Wait a minute. I just thought I had to hear that right. To not wear pajamas?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the sign said, like, "Please don't wear pajamas, like, in the courtroom." And then there was another article that I read that was talking about a headmaster in one of the schools in England who sent a letter to all the parents asking them that when they would pick their kids up at school to also not wear pajamas. And so,
oh boy. Wow.
And so I think that it kind of goes into especially when you're working for someone, right? Or you are out with your partner, or whatever, you still are a reflection of that person, even if it full on in your brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it still affects that person. And so, rather you're, picking up a kid from school or you're walking your dog, or if you're single and you're trying to meet, so it doesn't matter. Like it really comes down to you being able to put out, the part of you that is the authentic person. And then of course, we've all been in a meeting, we all have, where somebody, male or female, shows up and they're not dressed appropriate.
Yeah.
And maybe it was, or you've been the person, not you personally, but, been the person where you're like, "Oof," I tend to err on the side of being overdressed. I'm always the girl that my friends are like, "Why are you so dressed up?" I'd rather be overdressed than underdressed, And so, so I think that, you are a reflection of that company. And so when I'm working with college students or I'm working with people who are like, okay, I'm a VP of sales for this company. I have my personal brand, but I'm also representing this company. That typically is the biggest question, right? And that's the first thing that I say is that you're still representing their brand. And so what I teach people how to do is to stand out and fit in at the same time. because when you're with a company and you're part of their, you're part of their brand, they may not necessarily want you to stand out, especially not in a bad way. And
Yeah.
so, as we all work to be team players, you want to look like you're part of the team, but you also want to look like yourself. And so I think that it affects other people in that way. It affects other people when some people really feel that if you don't take the time to groom yourself properly, that it's very disrespectful. And so I think that, especially if you have to be very mindful of who you're meeting with that day. If you're meeting with a baby boomer versus a millennial, versus a Gen X, those are three different sets of values that we grow up with in reference to getting dressed. And so you want to be mindful of it, right? And so millennials care more actually about their appearance. And so I just think that, the easiest thing to do, it cuts back on your decision fatigue, number one. And so it's going to affect you and others because now you get to show up and you're not thinking or tugging on your blouse or your pants or your shoes don't hurt. Like you've kind of taken all of that and it really enables you to bring your best self to the table, So it affects other people in that way. And think about having more time with the people that you love because you don't have to think about what you're going to wear and how it's going to look. Like some people really get caught up into that, man, and they start this downward spiral because it gets so self-conscious about their image in that way. And so having a signature style, really setting up a branded closet really helps you to be able to show up as your best self, and it's going to save you money. And that affects us and it affects other people because you have more time to do things that you care about. You're not worried so much about that coffee date if you know that you don't have to, have you been there before? I know I have. I have this thing and now I have to go buy something.
Yes, I've done that many times.
Right. And you're like, and you're never going to wear it again.
That is actually true now that I think about it.
You know what I mean? Like in your heart, you're like, I don't even wear blazers. I'm never going to have to wear that, or I don't even wear, especially if they have a dress code or a party and there's a dress code to the party.
Yeah.
Or you're in your friend's wedding, you love him or her to death, but you're never going to wear that. And so you're just like, oh, can I please, and so by doing those things, a lot of the things all the things really that I'm mentioning in the Secrets of the Well-Dressed Brand, it's really going to help you to really cut back on the decision fatigue, again, which affects us and others, and save a lot of money, which affects us and it affects others as well.
So, and it leaves you in a place where you're much more confident too, because then you're not like going, okay, does, these, like olive green shoes match this, black dress, you're kind of trying to figure things out when you're just kind of pulling things together. But if you kind of have a plan, then you're good to go.
Yeah. And I feel like confidence takes a back seat in the sense of, the core of confidence really comes down to what you're saying to yourself. So when you get out of bed that morning and you have these things in place and you know that you're walking into your closet, which is now a space of confidence, right? Mm-hmm. You've created this kind of mecca of greatness for yourself in a sense that it becomes a no-brainer. You don't even have to think about it because everything fits. Everything's in the right colors. It took you 0 time to get out of the door. If you spill coffee or your kid gets oatmeal or something on your top, you have a backup, like you've done all the things, so it really is just a success plan, at the end of the day. And even if you work from home.
I love that. Well, and and how often when we work from home, which a lot of us are doing right now, right. It's like, we're probably pulling out stuff out of our closet that we haven't seen since the 60s,
Right. Oh, that makes me so sad.
Not all of us. I'm just saying there are people who are probably going through their closet looking for those really comfy clothes.
Yeah.
It's not something that you could really, do if you're, doing a virtual meeting with the people you work with, you're going to look way too casual.
Yeah, and I did that the other day. It was fine. My standard is super high, and so it wasn't. It was really fine. But then I forget that nowadays when people are doing podcasts, they're using Zoom, and a lot of times they're taking video and then putting that video on their YouTube channel. And so there used to be a time where, you could just throw on whatever and gone are those days. And so I forgot all about it. And I was doing a thing the other day and I was like, oh man, like I think he was expecting me to be, and I wasn't thinking that there was going to be video. Mm-hmm. And so it was fine. Like I just had on a black sweater and you couldn't see but I would have worn something else had I known the video was going to be used. And so I was like, oh, shoot. And I know anybody looking at it was just like, it's fine, but I don't operate in the season of fine. So I try to be exceptional in everything that I do. And it really was like, it was okay, but I just was like, oh, I wasn't happy with it, but I was okay with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it happens. And so, but with everything being more video now, you really have to be very secure and clear about what your personal brand is, even if you are on video calls, it still has to shine through.
Yeah, and that makes such a huge importance. So I know you talk about, we've kind of discussed a little bit of this already, but just how our style impacts, how people think of us and that perception that people have of us, and also the value they put on us and the work that we do.
I think that too, the biggest thing for me with all of this is, as I'm working on the next book, I had to ask myself the same question, and it applies to the current book as well, right? It's like, what is the outcome? Like, why are you writing this? And for The Secrets of the Well-Dressed Brand, it was really about, because I want people to know that this really does matter. That I know that, again, as we are in a casual society or culture, it still matters. And so now, with the current one, it's, as I'm looking at more influencer, and the digital world that we live in is so in your face, and everybody's, pushing to do more videos. When I ask myself why, and I was like, it's because it's about the difference between like fashion and wardrobe, right? And it's really what it comes down to. And fashion can sometimes be frivolous, but your wardrobe is not. And so when you look at it in the sense of the same way that these amazing wardrobe stylists, when you think about Black Panther and you think about the Cinderella movie and how they had all these exceptional costumes, really the wardrobe still, they told a story. And so that's what it really is about. We have the opportunity, just like Chanel, just like Ralph Lauren, who was born as Ralph Lipschitz, to change, we can make whatever life we want. Most people don't know that. Mm-hmm. And that's not his name. He was born as Ralph Lipschitz. And, it's like, he was like, I need to tell a different story because no one's going to buy ties from Ralph Lipschitz. So he changed his name to Ralph Lauren, and he just like, okay. And I always wonder, like, if he's alive today, but I'm just like, I wonder if he was starting out today, if he would have changed his name, or if he would have kept it as Ralph Lipschitz. I always wonder that. But, but he was, for that time, again, it goes back to what Tom Peters said in 1997, that we have to think of ourselves as the chief marketing officers of ourselves, right? And that means that, like the big brands, we need to, I love how he says in the Fast Company article, he's like, it's high time, that we really start thinking about marketing ourselves in a very different way. I mean, that was 1997. And so those rules still apply. But now the things that he was looking at from a digital perspective have now blown up. And so again, when you go back to the fact that our nonverbal communication, think about Instagram right now and how most people look at the videos with the caption on. They're not even hearing your voice. They're just reading what you're saying. So really think about that. And what they're doing is obviously reading your content, but they're looking at you. And so I think that it matters more so than it did when he started talking about personal branding in 1997. So I think that it's all of those things. And I think that, it's one of the main ways to tell the story like they do in movies, right? Curate your life and remember that we get to decide how our story ends, regardless of where you are in the story. We get to decide. It can change I love a good plot twist. Like this is, the quickest way to twist the plot is with your wardrobe. You could go into the office one day looking a hot mess, and you can show up the next day looking fabulous. And
all things together, right?
Right? Sure. And I think to myself, oh, plot twist.
Well, and it's nice to be able to go through that discovery process and kind of really decide, what you stand for, what your mission is. And I love how you break that down so people can discover those things, because it's probably stuff they've never thought of.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And so that's why, I have an infographic in my book. I have it behind me in my office when I do my Well-Dressed Brand TV shows. I talk about it, and it's up almost everywhere. I'm like, first thing, personality. So many people, I love assessment tests. And so I'm a Fascination Advantage coach, where I'm teaching people how to be fascinating. And I use that assessment test to lay the foundation for the brands for my clients, personal and professionally. So that's the first thing that we do is we talk about your personality. And the Fascination Advantage is the assessment test, is the only assessment test in the entire world that tells you how the world sees you. Everything else tells you how you see the world. Well, when I came across this, I was still working in corporate America, and I thought, well, who cares about how you see me, or how I see the world? I want to know what is happening when I'm walking into a room. I want to know what things I'm good at without having to try. Because, you kind of grow up learning, you're not good at this, so work on your weaknesses. It's like, no. This is how you are already fascinating. Let's build upon it, And so, I think that really is a different way to look at your personality. And it leans into, the whole quote about, your personal branding is what people think about you when you're not in the room. And it's so overused, but, they don't have to think about it. It's not even about what they think. It's about what you already know that you're doing and then capitalizing on that. And so that's a personality piece. And then you fall into the core values. What are your guiding principles? What dictates your behavior and your actions? What are you going to stand for? Because if you don't stand for something, then you'll fall for anything.
Isn't that the truth,
Right? And so you have to really know what your core values are so that you know what to say yes to and you know what to say no to. And then we move into the mission. What's important to you, your goals, your purpose, really what really accompanies those strong convictions that you have. And then your vision, right? With my faith, there's a portion of the Bible that says, without vision, the people will perish. And it just, every time I look at that in my office, it stabs me new every day, because that speaks to leadership. It speaks to your image. It speaks to everything. And it speaks to your brand, right? Because if there's not a vision, then think about everybody around you. I just imagine them just dropping like flies, because you don't have a clear vision on how you're going to show up. And then obviously your image, the appearance part of it, that's going to reflect all those things. And so I think that for me, that's what personal branding is. That's what branding is corporately and personally. I think that's what it is. And so that's what I created. And even when I was doing it for the host, I don't feel comfortable. I'm one of those people, and I think that because I grew up with such learning differences, that over the years I overcompensated, with reading and researching. And so now, all these decades later, I was super nerd. I was super nerd.
I think they call that highly educated nowadays.
Oh my gosh. The other day we were doing an interview, and they told me after we were done being live, they were like, I had no idea you were a nerd like me. I was like, oh, I'm such a nerd. But it was funny because, I did try these things on myself. And I remember when I got promoted to style director, I was like, okay, I'm not a backstage stylist anymore. I want to be seen in a certain light. How can I do that? It's like I'm working, I don't think that what I'm doing is going to be just enough. Just doing my job isn't going to be enough. Talent is overrated, like how can I really change this? And so I took myself through this process first. Like, okay, what do I want to say? I said, well, I want to be seen as an expert. I want to be elegant and I want to look stylish. Okay. So then I said, okay, what does that look like? I said, okay, well, I'm going to try now. I'm only going to wear black, gray, ivory, navy blue, and I may throw a color in there every once in a while, but I'm really not going to wear color. And so that was what I did. And so I said, okay. And then I went out on the runways that season were these huge, like gaudy, amazing necklaces that were like happy, chic, whatever. So I found like the knockoff version of it that was like appropriate for work.
Yeah.
And I just had on, a little gold necklace that said chic on it. And then I also bought graphic tees that said chic on, whatever. And so I'll never forget, I was in the bathroom one day and I was probably about 3 or 6 months into this thing of just wearing specific colors, just putting it together in a very elegant way every day. And I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this. It was just something I had in my head, like, hey, does this work? I've been able to do it for the live show with the models. I've been able to do it with the program host, but can I do it for a person who is now in a new position, who wants to be seen a certain way? I'm working on my side hustle. I have this idea. I don't know if it's good or not. And I'm also doing this new job, right? So all things are working together. And our president, we happened to like walk to the sink at the same time and we're washing our hands. I noticed her giving me the once over. And she goes over to grab a paper towel and she turns to me and she looked me up and down again and she said, "You always look so chic." And I was like, shut the front door. I was like, this works. And I remember just like being complete. I'm just being transparent. I was so dumbfounded. Like, am I being punked? Are there cameras? Like, is anybody really, like, did that really just happen? Like, did I literally just create a process? And said, okay, what happens if you wear certain colors? Or what, and it was like the third time I had tried it out because I'm like, okay, I tried it with the live show. Like, if I dress these models according to their personalities within these themed shows, does that affect the bottom line? Boom. I was like doubling my salary. And then I did it with the show host. Boom. It was working. But okay, but how do we take it a step further? Because I'm a little bit of a type A overachiever. So I was like, okay, let me try it in this way. And it worked. And I was like, holy crap.
Well, and that's great because it's like you really found your niche with this because I mean the people who you end up styling, I mean they love it.
Yeah, it's fun if I can get to that level. But the problem is that we are all so preconditioned. There's so many things that and rules. Lord have mercy. There's so many freaking rules, that we grow up with that just can't. They won't leave. I can't wear white shoes. I can't wear navy and black. I can't wear brown and black. I can't wear. I can't wear navy and chocolate. I can't wear. Why?
Yeah.
You get to decide. And I think that just regardless, women of all levels, regardless of their education, there's still these rules that we're kind of telling ourselves. And so you almost have to try to strip them down and, honestly, and just talk about the plot twist. Like, can we just talk about, like, you get to, this phase of your life, clean the slate, scrub the deck clean and start over, forget about those rules. Tell me what you want to say. And I'm going to tell you how to say it. And then over time, they eventually get to a point where I'm not needed because they got it,
Mm-hmm.
Eventually we get there. And so, but that's the way that I fascinate, on the Fascination Advantages, I'm considered the connoisseur. And so when you look at the connoisseur, I just inherently know what looks good. that's something that's natural that I don't have to work at necessarily.
Yeah.
So that's how I fascinate. And so that's why it works for me. And so I look at how they fascinate and then we just dress accordingly. But it's very different. And that was how the book was born, because someone was like, you've got to put this in a book. And so I was like, okay.
Well, and and a lot of times, because I love how you have this just really classic style. It's like a timeless classic style. And I think a lot of people, when they look at that, they're like, well, then how do I, when I'm at home, how do I have a style then that's more relaxed, because there's only so long you can wear pumps,
Yeah. And I think that, again, that's why we do the style test, right? So if you come out as, let's say, I have a friend that I always talk about. Her name is Leah Valencia Key, and she is a global makeup artist and jewelry designer. And her brand colors, but the main one is yellow, like marigold yellow. And so if I FaceTime her, it's not uncommon that she's in a fluffy yellow onesie. I'm not even kidding. And and if we go video shoot, she's wearing a bodycon yellow dress and golds, strappy boots or strappy sandals or high boots. When she got stopped in an airport in Asia because she was head to toe yellow, her suitcase was yellow, she is somebody, oh my gosh, she lives.
She got stopped at an airport?
She did, and not in a negative way.
Okay.
There was I'm sorry, I should have said that. There was a television show. Her entire platform is about exuding joy and love, and all these beautiful things.
Mm-hmm.
And so her entire purpose in life is to just send out joy, so that she wants you, when you go back to, again, what do you want to say? She wants people to look at her, and she wants them to to really feel happy, and that's what she wants. And when you look at the color yellow, for example, it's like she, is intellect and happiness. She exudes happiness and joy. It's fun. It's optimistic. It's wisdom. It's confidence. And you have one she's just the perfect analogy to what I'm talking about, because when you look at her life and her brand story about how she went from being homeless to this global makeup artist to a jewelry designer, have her master's degree in education, people don't think that when they see this nearly 6-foot woman walking around with this huge, gorgeous lioness afro draped in marigold and gold.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
No, it's fabulous. And so this television show stopped her.
It sounds gorgeous.
She's so beautiful. And they stopped her, and they wanted to talk about her color. They wanted to talk about what she was doing, and she was draped in all of her own jewelry design. So it's basically like she got a free commercial in Asia, because they just stopped her in the airport, and they're like, yellow suitcase, yellow top, yellow shoes, yellow pants, yellow scarf.
Mm-hmm. Who are you?
Yeah, this gold crown in your head, and it makes people stop and talk to her and draws them in, and she's changing lives one person at a time. And so it's just it's really fabulous. And so I think that, you learn to, I'm always in black. My brand colors are black, red, and white, or ivory. And so when you think about black being the color of authority and power and sophistication, confidence, then my husband comments on it all the time. When I wear color, he gets really excited. Oh my God. But, I just get loungewear, comfy, things to wear around the house. And it's usually black leggings or black yoga pants and a beautiful cashmere tunic. That's usually what I'm, oh my gosh, I have to tell you this really fast. The other day, this is a true story. My husband says to me, he said, hey, can you come and help me with this project? We were painting my son's room. Mm-hmm. And I was like, does it require me to change because I'm wearing cashmere? I heard myself say it, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds really bad." And And I just heard the word and I'm like, oh my gosh, could you be any more bougie? But I didn't mean it like that. I just was like, I wanted to know, you know? And so he looks at me and he's like, you can wear that. And then I responded, I don't believe you. I'm changing.
That was probably a wise move. You know?
Wise. So I come in now. My husband is like 6'5", 260 pounds of like Irish fed corn. Like he is like a huge guy. So I go and I put his black sweatshirt on. And I just remember looking down, I'm like, but I'm still brand appropriate. Like I'm comfy, you know, going back to what you were saying. And so I think that once you kind of learn the process, it's very easy for you to then make those choices to still become a well-dressed brand.
Yeah. And I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's hysterical, but at the same time makes sense, you know, because if I'm wearing something nice, I would kind of want to know if I have to paint a room or something, you know?
I mean, I'm like, what project? Like I knew what he was doing, but I didn't know what he needed me to do. And yeah, I needed to ask that because I was not about to ruin my sweater because I had been on video conferences all day and I just was still kind of very comfortable and warm and dressed when he got home. And so, yeah.
I think that was a wise move. You know?
It was. I was so dirty when I was finished.
Well, you know, earlier you mentioned about your second book. So why don't you share a little bit about that with us? What do you got up your sleeve? What are you doing now?
Well, I'm just really in love with this. So when I'm going back to kind of my core values, right? And I'm rereading. In fact, I'm going to do a video or live at some point, either today or tomorrow, where I'm inviting people to go through the first book with me. I'm going to go through chapter by chapter and kind of go through it again as a reread, because the next book is kind of part 2. So like once you become a well-dressed brand, what's next, right? So it's really pulling out the strategies that we talk about in the first book, but taking a deeper dive. And so I gave some of the things away already today where we're saying like, hey, this is how you need to look at, you know, the things that are in your closet. But there are so many new studies that have come out. Excuse me. There are so many new studies that have come out really about the psychological process of really using your wardrobe as a business strategy. And so meaning that, you know, there was a study that came out in December from, I believe it was Princeton, that talked about when people are looking at you, they're deciding if you're even competent, you know, now.
Yeah.
Right. And so going back to that 65% visual, everything's, you know, still nonverbal is still very important. They're deciding, you know, and our attention spans have dropped from 12 seconds to 8 and 9 seconds. And so how do you nail it and really forget about the first impression? I really want to help people make the right impression, you know, and again, not about confidence, but really about you curating your story. And so when I look at old costume designers like Edith Head and designers like Chanel was born without a birth, like she wasn't, like when she was born, she didn't have a birth certificate that she could speak of or find because her father just dropped her off at the orphanage after her mother died. And so, you know, you really have to kind of turn your crap into crab cakes in the sense of like, okay, the blessing in all of that is how do you begin to write your own story, you know, and using your wardrobe to do that. And so that's what I'm really taking more of a deeper dive into, going like, hey, here's fresh off the presses information. Here's things that I've learned in the last 3 years since the last book and working with my clients. And here is like how you really do is tactical information and a strategy and a workbook that can help you to really get to that next level.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Well, I know there's going to be a line waiting for that one. Oh my goodness.
I hope so.
Oh my goodness.
It should be fun.
Oh, I can't wait. Well, we're going to have another great discussion when that book is ready, and we're going to have a talk
Yes.
about that. So, Toi, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community? And do you do private appointments as well?
I do. So you can find everything that you need on toysweeney.com. I am Toy, T as in Tom, O-I, Sweeney. There's 3 E's in there. So it's SWEENEY. Toy Sweeney everywhere, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere. Oh, no, not on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm Sweeney Toy. I don't ask why. But yes, I have packages on my website. Call and schedule a consultation, all of the good stuff. So it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun together.
Oh, well, you're fun all the time, and you're always so well put together. I can understand why people come to you for such great advice. My goodness, Toi, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Toi. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you. And of course, to talk about your book, Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand is available at Apple Books and also on Toi's website, which is toysweeney.com for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just what moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Friday and Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.